What's up, everybody? Supersmallchibiwolf, and today I'm going to be talking about a few things in this Chibi Chat. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, Nintendo vs. Sony, and more. So let's get into this. The first thing I want to talk about is Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. Now, when it comes down to the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, I loved it. But real quick, I want to talk about the other two movies first. When the first movie came out, it was a funny meme. Everyone memed it. Sonic came out, Sega was like, here's the movie, and then boom, put that creature back in its cage. What even is that? You know what I mean? It looked like a huge joke by Sega. It was funny, man. They delayed the movie, they went back, reworked it all, released something better, and I'm happy that they did, because it shows that they care. And wow, that was an interesting, funny time. But let me just say this: even with the reworking done and all that stuff, I think that was a good movie. I would say that was a good movie. Not a great movie, but a good movie. Then Sonic the Hedgehog 2 comes out. That was a great, wonderful movie, yo. That was really they improved everything. A perfect example of a sequel done right. It was just so wow, I loved it and enjoyed it. Then here we are, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. I feel the same way. I think that they improved many things. A lot of things were really amazing and cool and fun. I would say also, when it comes down to this movie, by the way, I'm not going to have no spoilers, so real quick, don't want to spoil anything for anyone if you haven't watched it already. But moving on with the talk, I would say, when it comes down to this movie, I was excited. I was like, I'm going to watch this movie. And when I went to the movie theater, real quick, it was interesting. I was alongside Sonic fans, like real hardcore fans, onesies, cosplays and all. And oh man, it was a wonderful experience. So I was like, that was funny and good. But then movie wise, real quick, just wanted to share that funny thing. Movie wise, I enjoyed it. It was really cool. I think each character is represented in a really wonderful way. I feel like the people who wrote this movie and worked on this movie really played the games and are real fans, or at least worked alongside the fans, because each character is represented in a really great way, especially Knuckles. And that's one thing I want to focus on right now is, modern times, Sega's kind of, I don't know, man. When it comes down to Knuckles, we all seen him in the anime, man. He looked in Sonic Boom comes to mind. Seeing modern Knuckles like that, it's like, he's an idiot. It's like, come on, man. This is the dude. This is Knuckles. So, coming to like the Sonic live action movies, I'm really happy and excited that they have more respect for Knuckles in these movies. I'm happy that they've given him justice. They made him really cool, smart, intelligent. Well, he's not a super genius, but he's capable of figuring out what to do and fighting alongside Sonic and Tails, and that's just dumb. You know what I mean? So that's something that I wanted to talk about. Oh man, Shadow was really great as well, man. I loved it. They really cool. He comes out, he's doing his thing, he doesn't care. Background story, we all know it. If you know Shadow the Hedgehog and all that, you play his games, you already know how he is. And I think they really did that great, his backstory and all of that. Overall, I would say this is a really wonderful movie that I really enjoyed. Of course, the comedic king, the classic 1990s comedic king is still going strong. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, Eggman, really great. And he plays two roles, so it was like a double win right there. Overall, I think this was a fun movie. Next, I'm going to be talking about Nintendo versus Sony, and I'm going to try to make this fast. So, real quick, starting off on the Super Nintendo. Sony provided a sound chip to the Super Nintendo, and I think other stuff too. I may be wrong on that. But, yeah, that's where it all started. Then, Nintendo and Sony, they broke up. They were like, I'm done with you. We're done. Okay? I'm taking my half, and I'm leaving. And then Nintendo was like, okay, do what you need to do. They created the N64. They were like, okay, we're kings. We're the best. We got the N64 out. We're good. PS1 came out with the discs, and they basically whipped them real quick. And don't get me wrong, by the way, I love both PS1 and N64. But history has shown that the PS1 dominated them. Disc-wise, you could put. Also, another thing. Throughout Sony's history, you could do so much more besides just gaming. PS1, you could listen to music, CDs. Now, PS2, you could watch movies, which leads us to PS2 versus GameCube. I prefer the Nintendo GameCube as a console overall, but the PS2 still has amazing games, so don't get me wrong. But the GameCube, man, they got dominated again by the Sony PS2. So it's like 2 times in a row, Sony was like, we dominating you, dude. You know, you should have been nicer to us. And they could play movies, they could play games. But don't get me wrong, Nintendo GameCube, I love that one more. I prefer that one as a console. You know, a lot of wonderful games. Wonderful games on both consoles. But yeah. Now, when we come down to the PS3, oh man, Nintendo was like, you've been dominating us for 2 generations in a row. No more. Boom! What did they do? They released the Nintendo Wii and they beat the PS3. Now, it doesn't make sense because the hardware on the PS3 was way superior than the hardware on the Wii. So, but they had motion controls, the gimmick and all that. So, they dominated with that. And yeah, man, it was like, wow. And then, later on, what happened? The PS4 came out and the Wii U came out 1 year before, 2012, 2013. And then Sony was like, nah, man. Boom! And they dominated them. Right then and there. They said, that's for what you did to me during the PS3 generation and Wii generation. PS4 dominated the Nintendo Wii U. And then when we come down to the Nintendo Switch and PS5, what happened? Nintendo dominated the PS5. Yep. So, and plus, thinking about it, PS5 and Nintendo Switch is like PS3 to Wii. You have a weaker hardware, Wii and Nintendo Switch, versus a stronger hardware, PS3 and PS5, during the generation of the 7th gen. Now, it's crazy, it's like, you would thought, the hardware that's the strongest is going to win, but no, the weaker hardware won. And a lot of times you could see, throughout the history, why, Nintendo Switch was more persistent on creating more, like, for example, exclusives that was worth buying the console for, while the PS5 kind of said, okay, let us give away all of our exclusives. The games that they were creating on the PS5 generation, exclusive-wise, wasn't really the best in my opinion. And, I think in general, Nintendo really showed everyone that, look, we are going to be dominating. And they have dominated. And plus, look, it's all an opinion thing, when we look at, which games do you prefer more? But when we look at numbers and sales, that's when it turns into a fact. And a lot of times, when we see like these consoles and all that, don't get me wrong, there's consoles that I love that did awful, games that I love that sold horrible, but I think it's better than the other ones. But history has shown, what I mean? Like, when it comes down to it, the Nintendo Switch has outsold the PS5 and won that generation due to many wonderful exclusives that a lot of people are still talking to till this day. Now, next I want to talk about the handhelds. So, starting off, you had the PSP versus the DS. Although I preferred the, PSP, I had that. I played the original DS in stores and other people had them. And long story short, the DS dominated. Although, in a way, think about it, early 2000s, it kind of doesn't make sense. If you really look at both consoles, okay, for sure, I know, maybe, I don't know which way you could mod a original DS, so I'll leave it to that for people who actually know about that stuff. But I know from personal experience how much you could put on a PSP. The original PSP, I remember the one I had, full of movies. You had music and all that due to the, early 2000s and then late 90s. It started with, you illegally downloaded music and stuff. But yeah, that's when I think about the PSP, I think about a powerhouse that could do gaming of all kinds and of music and just movies and stuff like that. Really cool art you could download and have background. It's just so much cool stuff. Well, when I think about the DS, it's of the stories I hear and of what I see in kiosks and stores. So yeah. Now, when we talk about the next generation after that, which is I believe the Go. Yeah, PSP Go. I didn't have that, but I remember being excited for that. I'm not sure. Probably at that point, Nintendo dominated all the way through. So I can't speak of that because I didn't have a Go, PSP Go, and I didn't have a PlayStation Vita. So I don't know, man. I think Nintendo just dominated on those. From what I heard and from sales numbers and all that I've heard, researched, and etc. Nintendo basically dominated Sony in the handheld market. So the Vita to the 3DS and all of that. But what I could say is this: that when it comes down to the originals, from what I remember, the original DS versus the early 2000s, that was the PS. In fact, that was the Nintendo Game Boy SP. So even before the DS, I think the PSP was out. So yeah, they were really dominating. So that was amazing. Sony had a strong start, and they just don't do handheld gaming. Like they have handheld gaming for PS5, but it's more like, oh, these are your PS5 games that you get to go and play. Like I would love that Nintendo and Sony go back to handheld gaming. Nintendo has definitely shown that they could do unique titles for the handheld gaming, and I would like to see that more. Like, and another thing is, Sony wise, I think that they would be wonderful doing handheld gaming again as well. So you have a home console and a handheld console. So that would be cool. Now, if you're going to talk about, real deal, the latest handheld consoles from both generations, the PlayStation Vita. I mean, well, I don't want to count the PlayStation, the PS5 handheld console, because that's basically just PS5 on the go. But if you want to, the Nintendo Switch still dominates. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. It's easy. It still comes down to this, the current generation. Nintendo Switch dominates PS5. So, yeah, that's enough. I think I talked about the gaming generations too much now. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with the and or more part of the video. So, this way I just talk about random stuff. So, let's see. Yesterday I watched Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. It was fun. The day before that I went to the music store. I got to play different instruments. It was cool. One of them being the drums. So, yeah, it was like, had fun. Next, besides that, I went to the exotic pet store and I saw hedgehogs and other animals as well. Got to hold a sugar glider, snake, and yeah, good times. Besides that, I've been playing JRPGs because you know that from Christmas to New Year's, that whole week, I have nothing to do. So I was like, JRPG time. And I had fun. Went out a lot of times, so I've been busy. And then, that's why I didn't finish the JRPG. I'm almost done though. So that's a good thing. So yeah, besides all that, I'm waiting for whatever game comes out this year, which I made a video on. I'll leave it up here on top. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, bye.